There we go. It's unusual that a person's legacy survives the test of time because history is fickle, with the names and contributions to those in the past quickly forgotten. However, every so often an individual emerges whose impact transcends the passage of time and overcomes the erasure of change. This evening, we gather to honor and remember one such remarkable individual. Dr. Baird left an indelible mark on his students, profoundly influencing their paths. His teaching shaped the very fabric and direction of their development. A glimpse into the Remembrance from the 1990 alumni reunion reveals Dr. Baird's esteemed position and lasting effect on his students. Baird's influence was so impactful that his students, spanning the decades, came together and authored a book paying tribute to his teachings. Dr. Baird's teachings were deeply ingrained in his students, shaping their personal and professional lives. He dedicated 60 years to teaching, including 45 at the University of Iowa, nurturing generations of leaders in academia, law, industry, and individuals of the highest character. Through his students, the Baird tradition thrived and was shared with countless others. Many of us here are familiar with this tradition. In Baird's words, first, you're to have genuine intellectual integrity. Second, we expect you to have social integrity and outlook. Thirdly, your personality reflects moral integrity. You are on the side of truth. Baird's philosophy, elegant in its simplicity and rooted in truth, continues to influence generations of Iowa debaters. True to fact, the alumni gathered here tonight carry forth the Baird tradition that was imparted to them during their time at Iowa. Each of you contributing your own chapter to Baird's legacy as you strive for excellence in service to others in your personal and professional lives. Undeniably, where you find yourself today was fashioned in part by what you learned and experienced as a member of the ACBDF. Your time at Iowa is an extension of Baird's remarkable legacy, and your presence at this event reminds us all of the enduring significance of debate at Iowa. 2025 marks a milestone in the history of Iowa debate and the University of Iowa. In 1925, Dr. Baird accepted a teaching position, assuming the role of debate coach, and began building a legacy whose effect remains significant to this day. As the book, On the Side of Truth, an historical account of Iowa debate pronounces, this history is dedicated to Professor A. Craig Baird, whose vision shaped it. Tonight, we gather to reflect on and celebrate the impact of this vision as part of our year-long tribute commemorating Dr. Baird. We will hear inspiring words from University of Iowa President Barbara Wilson, illuminating personal accounts promising new insights into Dr. Baird from his daughter, Barbara Baird Reese, and learn more about Baird's immense contributions through Dr. Dave's captivating history of Baird's achievements. I invite you to stay on the Zoom after the presentations of our esteemed speakers to learn more about the schedule of exciting events we have planned throughout this year to honor Dr. Baird. I will now play for you President Wilson's greeting. She was unable to be with us tonight. She sends her regrets for not being able to be here, but she submitted a video to demonstrate her commitment to the program and in honor of Dr. Baird's contributions.
Hello, it's my great pleasure to greet you for this wonderful celebration marking the centennial of Dr. A. Craig Baird's arrival at the University of Iowa. Iowa debate has played a very important role in the university's excellence for many years. The students involved in debate get a great educational experience. They engage in detailed research, they work with multiple perspectives, they develop their strategic thinking, and they hone their communication skills. And that's my home discipline, so it's pretty exciting for me. Iowa Debate's remarkable record of success demonstrates the excellence these students have achieved. In fact, Iowa is the only public university in debate history to take first and second at the same national championship. Dr. A. Craig Baird contributed enormously to this legacy of success, and today we celebrate his many contributions to the university, to intercollegiate debate, and to the field of communications studies. He chaired more than 50 dissertations. He edited and authored over 30 books. He led faculty governance. He spoke at university commencements, and he expanded the university's boundaries through international debate exchanges and radio debate competitions with universities across the world. Dr. Baird was instrumental in ushering in the current era of contemporary debate. He advocated for replacing laypersons with experts in the role of debate judges, which enhances the evaluation of argument exchanges. He was also the lead consultant in designing the National Debate Tournament, the NDT, the national organization that governs intercollegiate debate. And he was at the forefront of diversifying those who participate in debate. I am delighted that you will hear much more about this major figure in our university's history from Barbara Baird Reese, Dr. Baird's daughter, who is joining you at this event to share tales of her father's incredible time at Iowa. I also want to share with you my strong support for the A. Craig Baird Debate Forum's new fundraising campaign. Our university is so fortunate that our alumni and friends contribute so generously to the university they love. The excellence we achieve would not be possible without it. And that applies to our debate program as well. Iowa Debate relies heavily on alumni support for scholarships, for a significant portion of operational costs, and for additional coaching, all of which meet the educational and competitive needs of our students. Your contributions to this campaign directly support the education, the experience, and the success of our students, and that makes me especially grateful. Thank you for all your enthusiastic support of Iowa Debate, and I wish you the best as you celebrate the amazing legacy of Dr. A. Craig Baird and the success of our debate program. Thank you. Hello. My great pleasure to greet you.
I thought that was a wonderful greeting when I first received that from President Wilson. I originally thought that maybe we might get a minute and a half kind of greeting, but I think it's demonstrative of how she's thought about debate and our program, and I expressed our gratitude, and we'll definitely make sure that she gets a note of thanks and a link to this recording. Next, we are privileged to have with us Dr. Baird's daughter, Barbara Baird Reese. Before we benefit from her firsthand accounts of her father's time at Iowa, I want to share a Barbara yarn. Lauren Reed of Columbia University let us in on what Barbara was like as a young girl. She writes in the 90 reunion book, "The Bairds asked my wife Gus and me to babysit 5-year-old Mary Barbara for a week in their home while they took a trip. We enjoyed having this lovely little girl and got along fine. She did, however, show up reluctance at going to bed at the appropriate hour, that it would take a while to get her bedded down. So on the third afternoon, I decided I would take her for a long walk down the Rock Island tracks near their home and work off this excess energy so that when Betty Beg came along, she would be more compliant. So we did a month or so of road work, Mary Barbara skipping and hopping around the ties and rails. At bedtime, it was I who was exhausted, and she was still as full of life as ever. This was my first lesson in how to raise children." Well, Barbara, I'm glad that you're still as full of life as ever, and thank you for being here this evening. Over my 28 years at the helm of Iowa Debate, I've known you to be stalwart in your support of the program. Your presence at debate events, always a reminder of the important role I fill and the expectations, the quality of my work. Your correspondence afterwards, always welcome and uplifting. Thank you for being here tonight. We're all very interested to hear your memories and recollections.
I am really can you hear me all right?
Absolutely.
I think I pushed the wrong button. Oh, here we are. Okay. I was laughing as you were talking. Paul, I was laughing as you were telling that story and I pushed the wrong button. I want to tell you how appreciative I am and for all the work that you and Tyler have done for the debate program. I'm just so appreciative of it. And I was certainly appreciated what President Wilson had to say. I'm really quite overwhelmed with all of this. My father would be just so honored with this tribute, this terrific tribute to him. And so I have some little notes here of some of my remembrances of my father. So here are some of them. He and my mother drove out to Iowa 100 years ago in 1925, as you all know, from Maine, where my father had been teaching for a number of years. They had a house built for them at 200 Fersen Avenue, where I was born 3 years later. I was an only child. I lived in that home for my first 18 years, after which I went away to college in 1946, followed by graduate school in New York City. I did return to Iowa City many times, of course, after that, when my husband was in graduate school, and we visited, and I lived there for a while. I'm really going back now. My very first remembrance of my dad is when he would often sing to me at bedtime, always with that old song, "Till We Meet Again." Later on, when I was probably 10 years old or 11, I loved being in the car with my parents, driving maybe to Cedar Rapids or someplace. I would sit in the back seat, leaning into the front, and then bring up an interesting topic to me for conversation. Whatever the topic was, my father, who was driving, would be totally absorbed. The more he talked, the more the car would slow down. Finally, my mother would call out, "Craig, for heaven's sake, drive faster." And then all would be quiet. The car would speed up. But then I would then bring up another interesting topic. I just love those moments. I went through the university school system, which consisted of one building located down the street from the Pentecrest in Schaefer Hall. I remember walking to Schaefer after school many times so I could ride home with my father. I would walk down Capitol Street, I think it was Capitol Street, past the chemistry building, and then the dental clinic, and then across the old Capitol, and eventually entered the back door of Schaefer Hall. I went down a flight of steps, turned right, and there was my dad's office with lots of students going in and out. Across the hall was the classroom, and sometimes I had a friend with me and we would play school in that room. I have mental pictures of many of my father's students or associates who came to our house or the office. The names were often mentioned, or I saw them, such as Margaret Wood, Leroy Copperthwaite, Dave Cornell, Bob Blakely, Lauren Reed, and I remember Lester Thompson telling jokes. He told me jokes. I also remember seeing a few times E.C. Baby, who was head of the speech department, who hired my father. I remember hearing that graduate students often did not agree with his policies. My father's students were the central part of his life. I was aware of conversations at the dinner table or other places when an Iowa town would be mentioned. He would say, "Oh, Council Bluffs is the home of so-and-so." Or upon hearing Davenport, he would say, "Davenport, oh, that's where so-and-so is from," and so forth. My father had an office in the basement of our home where almost all of the aspects of his career took place. I remember his typewriter and how he used his two index fingers to type numerous personal letters with carbons. He also kept a diary for at least 40 years, and I have most of them. I know that Bob Blakely, his office secretary during the Depression years, typed all, I think, of my father's books and articles. Dad had a way of expressing himself when he was especially pleased with someone or what somebody said. He would rub his hands together, smile, or laugh gleefully. I did love making him laugh. When he was unhappy or angry about something, he wouldn't shout or swear or pound the table. He would instead become very quiet. And I sort of remember him sort of giving a kind of a low growl. Sometimes I would go down to his basement in our house to consult with him about writing a theme, which was a weekly assignment for a high school English class. One time, I couldn't figure out how to end one of my themes. I tried different endings, but nothing worked. My father listened to my frustration, and after a minute or two, he said, "Well, what about ending it with a question, the one you said you had written out yourself?" Light bulbs went on in my mind. How brilliant was my dad? And to think that I had had the answer to it there all along. I remember that glorious feeling to this day. Another poignant memory is when I would be playing the piano in our living room. I took lessons from age 6 through high school, and I had to practice a lot. My dad would pat me on the back whenever he passed by on his way to or from the basement office or somewhere else. I always felt his stamp of approval and appreciation. My mother would always, as I remember, have dinner ready at 6 o'clock following the 5:30 news, and Dad would usually have comments to make. Conversations at the dinner table inevitably ended with some fact that was questioned, and I often would run to one of our Britannicas to solve the problem. Our dinners had frequent interruptions that way. Many, many humorous stories have been told about my father's problems with his car. I was never aware of these stories, but I do remember a dramatic scene at some point where our car was found at the bottom of the ravine next to our house. The neighbors came to look, and a wrecker came to pull the car out. I was told that the car's brakes were not working properly. Looking back on my long life, I can see that my dad was always my supporter and had a gentle, very strong influence. He never told me what I should be doing. He, as far as I can remember, never even suggested that I become a debater, nor do I remember hearing about Aristotle. Nevertheless, I did have a brief experience teaching college communication skills, which I thoroughly liked. I inherited his love of the issues of the day and was active in the League of Women Voters during my married life and up to the present time. If my dad and I had a conversation today, about the state of our country, he might not be rubbing his hands together as much. If he were teaching, he would want his debaters to exhibit intellectual, social, and moral integrity on their way to pursuing truth. The debaters of today, he would say, represent the leadership of the future, and we especially need them now more than ever. I did love my dad, and as he would say, keep your nerve and good luck.
Barbara,
Yeah.
that was wonderful, and it gave us so much more information about Dr. Baird. Thank you. You were talking about Dr. Baird wringing his hands, and in the 90s commemorations, a lot of students, almost all of them, talked about that they understood that they were on the side of truth or had made an insightful comment when Dr. Baird would wring his hands and chuckle. So it was nice to hear that. Thank you for everything. Our last speaker tonight is going to be Dr. David Hinksman, who is the director of debate at Iowa for 32 years. I want to remind everyone that there will be a set of important announcements following Dr. Dave's presentation. So please stay on the Zoom call after Dave completes this history of Dr. Baird's contributions. Now, Dr. Dave, Orville Hitchcock mentioned in his 90 Remembrance, I think when you get through, we're going to have a much more complete and accurate picture of A. Craig Baird, who he was and what he did. Everyone, Dr. Dave.
Thank you, Paul. I am deeply honored, by the way, that you asked me to comment on Dr. Baird's accomplishments. Barbara did an outstanding job of describing how his family and students felt about and benefited from his presence and his hard work, even if the car went down the ravine. There is so much to say about his professional achievements that I can't recount in the time that we've got tonight. So instead, I want to emphasize continuity between two of Dr. Baird's major achievements at Iowa and what the members and alumni of the A. Craig Baird Debate Forum and University of Iowa students in general are doing today. Now, it's important to remember that Dr. Baird came to Iowa from previous teaching experience and distinguished performance as a debate coach at an excellent private liberal arts college, Bates College. He had master's degrees in English from Columbia and theology from the Union Theological Seminary. That prepared him well to teach and coach debaters at Bates, including Benjamin Elijah Mays. Mays later served as president of Morehouse College in Atlanta and served as the intellectual conscience for the American Civil Rights Movement. So he was dealing with outstanding future students at Bates College. But the enrollment at Bates College at that time was less than 1,000 students. So imagine what it must have been like for him to say, well, do I really want to leave Bates? The debate society at Bates College, the Brooks Quimby Debate Council, became the first college debate team in the US to compete internationally. And in February of 1920, under Dr. Baird, the debate team defeated Harvard during a tournament held at the Lewiston, Maine City Hall. And after that, Bates was established as a dominant force in collegiate debate. In 1921, the Bates debate team participated in their first intercontinental collegiate debate in history against the Oxford Union's debate team at the University of Oxford. They did so well that in 1922, the New York Times called Bates the power center of collegiate debating in America. So you can imagine that it could have been very difficult for Dr. Baird to pick up stakes as this champion debate coach at Bates College and move to Iowa. And that might explain why he turned down the first offer he got from Iowa in 1921. But then he accepted E.C. Mabee, who is the chair of Department of Speech and Theater, as Barbara mentioned, the offer made to him in 1925. Okay, here's something else to remember. In 1925, and I had to do some serious research for this, so don't say I never did any research until after I left Iowa. The full-time enrollment at the State University of Iowa was about 1,400 students. In 1952, when Dr. Baird officially took emeritus status, the UI's enrollment was 7,200. In 1969, when Dr. Baird stopped teaching classes at the university, the enrollment was 17,000. In 1924-25, UI enrollment is 30,779. So the first achievement of Dr. Baird was a response to a challenge which still exists: how to maintain personal involvement in the lives of students when enrollments at the UI were growing rapidly. So Dr. Baird's answer was innovation in at least 4 different ways. First of all, he recognized he needed help. He couldn't do this alone. The UI's Department of Speech and Theater already had an excellent reputation, but he recruited an even greater number of graduate students and supervised their dissertations and master's theses by the hundreds. And those students often assisted with the debate program, but then moved on to take prominent disciplinary positions in what we now call communication studies. And so that legacy that Dr. Baird created continues today in graduate student involvement in teaching and coaching in the Baird Forum and the UI as a whole. Second, he expanded the scope of argumentation and debate by introducing new courses into the curriculum that could provide opportunities for practicing critical reasoning skills in large lecture, small discussion sections. Through public debating sessions, the intercollegiate debate program then served as models of advocacy to serve these classes. Now, the Communication Studies Department continues to offer and expand this critical thinking curriculum, and many of our alumni, for better or for worse, remember the public debates and the importance that those public debates served for theories and practice of argumentation, as well as other classes in the department. Third, during the war years in particular, competitive debate was constrained. Dr. Baird responded by expanding group discussion activities. That complemented debate competition by developing practical experience in democratic deliberation. And democratic deliberation remains an important theme and goal pursued by many people at the University of Iowa. And in particular, I want to mention Dr. David Montgomery in Communication Studies, who has been developing connections between student communities and participation in public discourse. Fourth, Dr. Baird encouraged larger team tournament competition, which before he got to Iowa tended to be a single school debating a single school, and the increased involvement of women in intercollegiate debate. And many of our alumni alumni from the post-war period mentioned that as particularly important because at that point there was a separation between men and women's debating. And Dr. Baird and others helped to bring those together and to prevent that kind of gender imbalance. He was one of the founders of the National Debate Tournament, as was mentioned, which now brings together 78 of the top teams in America. He mentored the Iowa High School Forensic League from 1925 until 1950, and that organization continues to be active to this day, run by coaches throughout the state of Iowa. The Baird Forum continues as well to be an active and successful participant in the NDT, as well as the CETA National Tournament, and a number of national circuit debate tournaments every year. And our staff and our coaches are also involved as judges and sponsors of high school debate activities. The second great achievement of Dr. Baird that I want to talk about is setting a standard of integrity, as was mentioned by Paul, intellectual, moral, and social, that governed participants in argumentation and debate at the University of Iowa and still do. He often reminded them that they are on the side of truth. And this could be misinterpreted as an invitation to dogmatism or a narrow set of beliefs. But that's not at all what he meant. Instead, it was a recognition that the competitive exchange of opinions, reasoning, and evidence was the best way of discovering truth and deciding what to believe. Now, Dr. Baird was no stranger to controversy. 1954 was the height of the McCarthy era in the United States. That December, Dr. Baird gave his speech defending the decision of the college debate community to debate the recognition of communist China. Yes, that was the debate topic for that entire year. The mass media were outraged. And some schools, particularly schools in Nebraska, I don't know why, tried to withdraw from intercollegiate debate competition over it. Well, Dr. Baird not only gave that speech, but then published it in the Quarterly Journal of Speech, the flagship journal for the communication community in 1955. Well, today, the range of subject matters raised in intercollegiate debating and public discussion may well go beyond what was typical in those early years. And some of those topics are engulfed in controversy in current political discourse. But the commitment to free exchange of opinion, reasoning, and evidence continues to ground the activities of the Baird Forum, and censorship has no place in them. Now, we all claim to believe in the importance of free expression. Even Elon Musk tells us how important that is on X. But the rubber hits the road in the challenges that thrive in the ever-evolving activities of argumentation and debate. We're in a time now when artificial intelligence threatens to chain us to what has already been said. And social media anonymity permits unlimited expression without accountability. The creativity of competing debate minds frees us to consider new ideas and better talk, as well as to adapt our views to what others believe. Well, those are two of the many accomplishments of Dr. Baird. And his legacy to the University of Iowa is far more than the memories of his students and a beautiful portrait. It is the firm grounding of the ideals of free expression and debate in the curricular and extracurricular activities of a large public university. Those activities and the ideals underlying them are why we support the Baird Forum and the UI in any way we can. They cannot survive without our help. And I can almost imagine Dr. Baird rubbing his hands and shouting, "Hear, hear," at this moment. And thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Dave. As always, you impress us. And I want to thank you for your continued support of Iowa Debate and for sharing with us the impressive list of accomplishments of Dr. Baird. I want to inform everyone that we're currently in the process of creating a digital copy of On the Side of Truth. And I will encourage each of you to visit the team's website and access this book to learn more about the significance of Dr. Baird's contributions to Iowa Debate and his students. Baird's place in the annals of Iowa Debate's history is fixed and secured. His teaching and philosophy live on through his students and the generations of Baird debaters that have followed. Today's debaters are no exception. Their excellence in winning and learning reflects the four prongs of Baird's philosophy: intellectual integrity, social outlook, moral integrity, and being on the side of truth. Examples include Lily Severson's work with professor and former Northwestern debater Brian Lai. Lily is one of 7 Iowa students working with Professor Lai on U.S. Department of State projects for their diplomacy lab. Students will conduct research in a specified policy area and report their findings to the Department of State. Lily is also a senator in the University of Iowa student government. Ben Kleinman's Presidential Volunteer Service Award, recognizing his work in various STEM programs. His research assistance on infectious diseases through the College of Engineering in the Department of Computer Science. Ben and Lily's success in debate: despite having no policy debate experience, they reached the finals or won every JV tournament they attended and made it to the elimination rounds at their very first varsity tournament. There's Rose Billicky, being tapped by Professor Emerson Cram of the Communication Studies Department at Iowa to assist in researching an upcoming article and book project. Rose champions the rights of disabled persons in intercollegiate debate and is engaged in local politics and grassroots movements on a regular basis, attending city council meetings, championing Get Out the Vote, and engages in political resistance and information campaigns on campus. Spencer Anderson McElligot's success in debate, placing 5th at the 2024 CETA National Tournament. His status as an academic All-American in college debate, and his leadership in advocating for the recognition of trans persons in college debate. These are but a few examples of how the current members of the A. Craig Baird Debate Forum are writing the next chapters honoring Dr. Baird and preserving the Baird tradition. Every current member of the program has their own stories to share, each building on the Baird legacy as they take their debate skills and training out into the world in service to others. The Baird tradition is alive and well at Iowa. Debate has had a place on Iowa's campus since 1860. Today's program receives support from every level of administration, be it the president, the supervising dean, or outside departmental staff assisting in the successful operations of the program. As you heard from President Wilson, at Iowa, there is always a space for debate. As alumni and benefactors of the Baird tradition, we possess the ability to shape and mold the space provided by the university. Our financial support provides the essential resources for the program and its members to grow well beyond the budgetary limits of the university. So tonight, I announce the launch of the ACBDF's 100 for 100 campaign. This campaign is a 3-year venture with the goal of reaching $100,000 in donations over the next 3 years. These can be one-time donations, 3-year pledges, or recurring gifts. All donations are targeted to be deposited in the A. Craig Baird Debate Forum Gift Fund in honor of Dr. Baird and his continued contributions to the members of the ACBDF. Tyler has put a link into the chat window. Currently, $9,275 has been donated or pledged to the account. We are well on the way to success. With this money, the program will be able to continue to invest in students and programming that carry on the Baird tradition. It will enhance scholarships to attract the best talent to the program and make debate a possibility for those less fortunate. It will close the coaching gap the program experiences with its peers, supply debaters with the resources to facilitate learning, such as appropriate technologies, create competitive opportunities by funding more in-person competitions, offsetting the disadvantages associated with debating online, make possible outreach efforts to enhance student development of and connection with communities, and enable Iowa debate to grow its value both on campus and off. I want you to think about your own journey and the impact that being part of this community has had on your life. Imagine the possibilities we can create for future generations of debaters. Let's continue to support and nurture this incredible tradition. As I mentioned earlier, this evening is the launch of a year-long series of events honoring Dr. Baird. To stay connected with the program and learn more about the specifics of each event, please follow the team on its website and its Facebook page. Tyler has put the link for both in the chat window. First, every Tuesday this year, we will be posting interesting historical facts and remembrances of Dr. Baird on the team's Facebook page. The latest post, an indication of the truth of Baird's philosophy. As Baird said in his commencement speech to the class of 1952, whatever your professional bent, we belong among the citizens. We are all laymen in a political world that seems forever topsy-turvy, but our personal stake in it is great. Second, on March 6th, we will be hosting a Zoom meet and greet the current members of the Iowa debate team before they depart for the national debate tournaments. The event will include a brief introduction by each member and leave about 30 minutes of Q&A. I know the team is excited to talk with the alumni, and I hope you will all join us for that event. Third, we're working with the International Debate Council on hosting the Jamaican team on campus in April. In the past, Iowa has hosted the Jamaican debaters and had a wonderful experience with Trevor Foster and Ted Moore traveling to Jamaica on a debate exchange where they met the Jamaican Prime Minister. Fourth, in August, during the work week, we will host another meet and greet the team via Zoom. This will provide you with an opportunity to get to know the team members, discuss the current debate topic, and wish them luck on their upcoming season. Fifth, in September, we will engage our friends from Northwestern in a public debate, and we will do this in Chicago. We are still working on the details. All information, including the location of the debate on Northwestern's campus, will be released on the team's website and Facebook page. Sixth, on October 24th, the day before the Minnesota-Iowa game, we will engage our friends from the University of Minnesota in a public debate on Iowa's campus. The seventh and culminating event will occur in late October, early November. It is a partnership with the Department of Communication Studies where we will host a Baird speaker event. This event will bring a leading figure in communication studies to Iowa's campus for a Baird talk. There are a lot of exciting events happening this year, and we hope to see you at all or some of them. So please reach out to me if you have any questions or need additional information. Before I close, I want to again thank President Wilson, Barbara Baird Reese, and Dr. Dave for their time and rousing tributes to Dr. Baird. In addition, I want to thank all of you for spending your evening with us. Your presence and unwavering support truly embody the spirit of the Baird tradition. As we come to a close, I want to emphasize that Dr. Baird's story is far from over. Each year, new chapters are written by the enthusiastic members of the ACBDF. This ongoing legacy is made possible in large part by loyal alumni of the A. Craig Baird Debate Forum, who continue to invest in Dr. Baird's philosophy. Your contributions and engagement ensure that his vision lives on and will continue to shape generations of debaters to come. Together, we are writing the next chapter of Baird's remarkable story. Let's make it a great one. Thank you and good evening. I will keep the Zoom live for those of you that want to still stay on and maybe talk with one another or ask questions of Dr. Dave, myself, or Barbara. Thank you.